to our amazing sponsors, the fabulous people from Ascend Business Results, very cool accountants. St John's Hospital, the place to go if you're sick. And also Flow Vitality, who I'm sure you'll agree have put on a gorgeous lunch as they always do. Yeah, so thanks so much guys, really appreciate that. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Sunil and I'm the founder of Inspired magazine. As a long-time journo, I started Inspired about 2 years ago now. Just fed up with all the doomsday media, and so it was my bid to kind of inject some positivity into the world. So I profile all these really inspirational people and share their stories online. So web address there for I put up new stories every fortnight and put out a magazine. So we put out one last year, which if you haven't already seen, is over there on the table, so check that out. And we've got another one coming out in a couple of months, so very exciting times. So I just figured that it's really easy to fill your head with rubbish. You've got there's all this negative media, there's reality TV, all your own self-doubts and fears and gossip. So I think it's really worth making a conscious effort to put some goodness into your mind. So as well as inspired stories, this is a new bid to do that, Inspired Life. So once a month, hopefully, I'll be inviting an inspirational person to come and share their story, to tell us how they've reached success, the good bits and the bad bits, and to give us some tips on how we can do it too. So for our very first speaker, we have the lovely Fleur Porter. Fleur is a life and business coach here in Geraldton, and she runs this amazing program called Incubators. I have to admit to being a little bit of a Fleur groupie. I've done lots of coaching with Fleur over the years, including Incubators, which is amazing. So it was Fleur, I think, who first realised that although my life is, all pretty good, I felt like there should be something more, and kind of had this yearning for something else. And I think Fleur recognised that and helped me discover what that was and to bring it into the world. And the result of that is Inspired. And although I'm not yet to make my millions from it, I just get so much out of, doing what I feel like I was put in the world to do. It's light me up, starts me up and excites me. So I think that's the power of finding your purpose and living it. And when you do that, I think other things fall into place. So Fleur is going to share with us her journey to finding her own purpose and hopefully give us some tips on how we can do it too. So thanks for Fleur.
Sure. So much tech. Thanks, Emile. I think there's so many ways that you can begin, and there are so many stories. So many turning points in the narrative that ends up being kind of the story of your life. So I'm going to start with a story about me. So imagine, if you can, a timber-floored house, sunlit, in a very average street in a coastal town. There's a woman sitting on the floor in the kitchen of that house, and she's holding a pregnancy test. A positive pregnancy test. 2 blue lines grinning out at her while she grapples with what all that means. She's 36. Her marriage ended 3 weeks ago. She's already a mother. She has 3 children, daughters, who are 14, 7 and 18 months old. She's got a degree in science. She majored in marine biology and environmental science. She graduated at the top of her class and collected her degree very heavily pregnant with her first child. She's worked in agriculture, she's been a farmer, she's run a award-winning tourism venture, and she's currently working as a rural financial counsellor. And if in this moment she doesn't ask herself the right questions, it's pretty likely she's going to go under. So those 2 blue lines were or are my 4th daughter. She turned 6 in a couple of weeks, and she, I guess like all of my children, I think saved me, because in that moment I couldn't actually ask myself why me, although I promise you I really wanted to. Instead, I had to ask, how can I do this? Because I've always had a dream. I've always had a dream for my life that it was going to be something more than mediocre. I always knew that I wanted to have meaning from what I did, and I wanted my life to mean something and make a difference in the world. When I kind of made my way through school and university, that probably appeared very much like me being highly competitive and very driven and very success and achievement driven. But really beneath all of that was just that desire for more. There was something more that I wanted for me. So that morning, kind of in that moment of realising that I was about to have my 4th child, I was definitely going to be doing it alone again being the key word, because I'd already done it alone twice before. I just knew that I couldn't do the usual thing, and I couldn't just accept that that was what there was for me, and I had to do something different. I'd already decided that I wanted to be a life coach. I'd started training to do that. I knew all the parts of all those things that I did in science and in agriculture and in tourism. The thing that I loved the most, regardless, was actually about people and connection. So I say I'm not much of a scientist, but I loved the stuff that was about ecology, so the stuff that was about everything that was bigger than me and what the environment meant to people and how people felt about things. And that in the end was what kind of drew me to life coaching. So I knew that I had that dream, and I knew there was a life where I had a sustainable business, where that was all working for me. I knew that I was supporting my children, and I knew in that moment, if I didn't ask the right question, that dream wasn't going to happen. And it did. That dream did actually happen, and that's what's happening in my life now. I have an amazing purpose coaching business. I work with incredible people. I have now 6 children, 2 of whom I didn't actually give birth to, but I seem to be collecting children as I go. An amazing relationship. And all of those things came together because I got very, very clear that I had to do something, and I couldn't just keep living this life that felt like it was out of control and not my choice. And I really found out what I needed to make it happen, and they're the 3 things I'm going to talk to you about today. So those things are space, rising, and support. But your path to purpose, whatever it is for you, is likely to be a pretty convoluted one, similar to me. I don't know, well, there potentially are people who come into the world and are very certain of what they're doing and just get on with doing it. But my experience and most of the people that I work with are actually sometimes lost. Even though they have an inkling that that exists in them, they just don't know how to get there. My story involved many different jobs, many different trainings and careers, lots of children, lots of relationship turmoil, and many times I'm thinking, oh, I've got it, I found it, and then realising I was actually still totally lost. And I think the messages, like the message that gets delivered to you, no matter how it's delivered, are often much clearer when you're in some kind of turmoil or shock and pain, and you're like, oh, 2 blue lines, what am I going to do with that? And all of a sudden it makes you readdress, I guess, and look at where you're at. And I don't believe that I'm different or better than or more able to cope than anyone else. Like, the story of my life is, a long and varied tale about lots of crappy relationships and many children and much time of being on my own and feeling really unsupported. But I don't believe that I'm here because I was more able to cope with that than anybody else, or I have anything different. I actually believe that I'm here doing what I do because I think we're all the same. Like, I actually believe that every person has a gift, or a message, or magic, or genius of some kind to bring to the world. It doesn't matter how you want to frame it up. Magic, as a scientist, was not a word I was very comfortable with. I'm way more comfortable with it now, and I talk about it all the time. But whatever the word is that fits for you, I believe that by the fact that you're all sitting here and you've come to a talk about purpose, some part of you knows that there's a purpose and meaning for you in your life. And I believe we all have a gift. And my job, if someone is sitting in front of me, and that's okay, I'm not going to do it to you guys now, but it's sitting in front of me in my couch in my studio or in the context of the way that I work, my job is to help them find that and bring it out to the world. And it's a bit like, I feel sometimes like, when I started doing it, I was feeling a little bit like that little kid in that movie, The Sixth Sense, and it's not, I don't see dead people. But it's like when I look at people, I see something in them that they can't always see. And it doesn't matter what it's hidden behind or what crap has happened to them or what story they're telling themselves about what they're capable of. Like, I can see that. And that's my job, to help them get in touch with that and bring it out to the world. And to be honest, I guess that means sometimes I can see dead people, because when people aren't doing that, like if they know that it's there and they're not doing that, then life doesn't feel fully real and they don't feel fully alive. And I see that a lot with the people that I work with. So a life on purpose is really different to one that feels like it's sort of an accident and it's all happening to you. Of my 4 daughters, only one of them was planned. So I just kept having these experiences and thinking, oh, this is what we're doing now, is it? Okay, that's cool. I thought we were doing something else. Okay, is that being annoying? Yes. Yeah. But, you know, as I went through all of those things, I realised that didn't actually make me more amazing or more brave to get through all that stuff. Really, it just meant that a lot of the time I was actually totally out of control. And a life on purpose to me makes sense, and not in the like sensible and traditional way, but in the way that it feels like how life is meant to feel for you. And I do primarily a lot of my work with women, but I also have had a few guys come through my program, and also I speak to men about what a purposeful life feels like. And the men I've spoken to, they use words like invincible and powerful and on task and focused. So when they're in that place, there's nothing else. And when I talk to women about what it feels like to be in their purpose, they use words like empowered and flowing and full and aligned. And so a life that feels like that is a really, really different kind of life to one that feels like it's just happening to you all around you. And in purpose, the thing that you do, and it doesn't matter what that thing is, right? So it comes out of us in many different ways. It could be writing, it could be art, it could be the way that your brain orders and structures things and does things with that. It could be having a special talent of talking, or you know, something that you create, or food, or exercise. It can be anything. But when you're doing that, it's a thing that actually comes naturally to you, like so naturally you hardly know you're doing it. But it isn't always comfortable. And it's easy, but it's actually intense. Intense, when you say, oh, that's got some S's in it, you know what I mean? Yeah. It requires you to like keep showing up and leveling up and bringing yourself out. And you've got to say no to the wrong things. Like you have to start learning to say no to the things that are not that. And it requires you to actually acknowledge that you're not normal and that you want more for yourself and for your people, whoever they are, your family, your clients, the people you choose to surround yourself with. So this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to tell you 3 things that you can do to get closer to your purpose and bring it into your everyday. These 3 things are not like easy things. They are going to cause a ruckus. Like they're going to shake shit up. And this is good. This is what we want. So I've had so many people say to me, "Fuck you, Fleur, I don't want to do that." And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, that's what you have to do. And then they go and do it. And later, usually they say thank you. Because doing those things like will make all the difference. It's just when you try and settle and keep the peace and keep everything as it is that you'll find you go down that pathway of anxiety and depression, which I'll talk a bit more about in a moment, and that is just trying to settle with something that is not you and not what's for you. Because without the shake-up, no matter how much you achieve, how much money you have, how clean your house is, how great your shoes are, how organised your life is, how well your kids do at school or in life, you will never actually feel fulfilled. And there's a life that you want, and it can totally include houses and money and great shoes if you want. It totally can. And happy kids, it can totally have all those things. But unless you get really clear and ask yourself, how can I do this? You won't get that life. So here's 3 ways that you can do this. Number 1. Stop being so busy. Stop doing everything. So this is why you've got to leverage some space. Like I've got no doubt that you're capable. Right? I won prizes for being the best all-rounder twice. Right? They're generally the best at everything across all areas of school and whatever I was doing. You know, when you're good at everything and you can kind of do everything, then it feels a bit weird not to do it. Like the only thing I probably wouldn't, that I would subcontract out is perhaps being a wedding singer. I'm a really terrible singer and I won't bless you with my singing talents today, but apart from that, like everything else I can kind of do. I can either do it really well, I can do it okay, but I can do it. And so it was really hard for me to say no to most things because I don't want to be the money still wasn't into the money stuff or the budgeting, but I was a rural financial counsellor because I was really, really good with people who were going through the turmoil of losing their farm and being in a huge amount of debt. But then I had to sit with them and learn how to use AgriMaster and do budgets, and it nearly broke my head, but I could do it. So I did it. But it wasn't the point, because the bit about me that was great in that moment was what I was doing with the people and the conversations I was having with the people, and I really needed to subcontract out the budgets. That was what was important to me. And if your talent is the budgets, then do the budgets and then find someone else to help you with the people. Either way, it's not your job to do everything. Like, I'm going to do this in the context of being a wife and a mother, but this is also relevant for you in your work and your business, because if you are good at what you do, you probably try to do everything. There's an element of control freak in there as well, like, oh, well, if I don't do it, who will, or will it be any good, or as good as I would do it? But, you know, I can't be here if I'm hanging out washing. The good news is I have live-in nannies and they hung out 3 loads of washing this morning. When I went home before to make my hair nicer, the cleaning lady had been. But if I am tidying the pantry and cooking every meal, and I'm good at pantries, I'm also a pretty okay cook, and I am shit hot at hanging out washing, but I don't do those things. And the reason I don't do those things is because if I'm doing those things, I cannot be here. And I don't necessarily mean in front of you in this moment, I mean here, in the world. Because I am such a resentful washing hanger-outerer, and the way that I do that is not and does not serve my family the best, even though I really believe in clean clothes. If I keep doing that, the house and the children and all of that stuff, then I resent them. And I keep getting asked by people, you know, if I don't do it, who will? I say to you, I don't know, but I bet you can find someone to help you. Because unless you ask yourself, how can I do this? And this is purpose, whatever that is to you, then you will keep doing everything, and the thing that will slip away is probably the most magical, definitely the most magical and important thing about you. The starting point to purpose is to actually make space for it in your life. When there's no space, like, you can't hear it. And even if you don't know what it is, you don't even have to know what it is right now. You just have to make space for it. I believe that you always have an inkling anyway. Like, it's always kind of woven in with all the stuff you've done, all the things that have lit you up along the way, or the moments where you felt like, oh, I'm on the track, before you realise you're off the track. But you need space to hear it, because it's calling, and it has always been calling. The starting point for me back there 6 years ago with, and all the times before, but you know, that time 6 years ago was with the 2 blue lines, was I had to get a support system in place, and I had to stop trying to do and be everything to my children and everyone else that I was trying to do and be everything for, and actually ask for help, which is kind of hard. You know what's even worse? Then I had to accept help. And that was pretty challenging, but they're the 2 things. You have to be able to ask for it. So you need to be able to get very, very clear on how you can do it and who will be part of that with you. And because without all of that, without that support, I would be in nothing other than survival mode, and survival mode sucks. Survival mode means all you can get done is just enough so that you can wake up in the morning and do it all again. Okay, number 2, rise. Be more, expect more. This bit is super uncomfortable. This bit is about continuing to show up. This bit is about vulnerability, about letting go of what you think everyone is thinking about you and choosing to show up anyway. And it's not about doing more, it's about being more. Get the difference? Being honest, asking questions, calling people out on the stuff that's not okay. It's about having strong boundaries and self-belief and knowing what you believe in and being very clear about what you value. Your purpose is totally like in alignment with you and with what you value and what you believe in. And when you're able to speak about that, even and especially when not everyone agrees with you, that brings you to the world. And when you start showing up, like that, you have to be prepared to do it everywhere. Now, I'm really, really good at it in a work context. Like, I learned to do it with people who were my clients. Yes, a lot of the time they were paying me for that. That's not the point, that's not why I did it, but I found it easier to do in the context of people, with clients. I brought myself to that. I always brought my highest self. I showed wisdom, I showed up and I delivered what they need. I had to learn how to do that in relationships through a lot of trial and error, mostly error, over lots of years, lots of errors. But now I'm much better at showing up in a relationship, in the relationship with my guy, and I'm also much better at showing up in relationships with my friends, in my friendships and with that wider circle of people around me, my family. The hardest place for me to show up is as a mother. So, you know, when my kids are having tantrums about shoes or the lumps in their socks, I want to have a tantrum too. I don't feel like I necessarily have any wisdom or brilliance or whatever in that moment. I just go, shut up! You know, I've got other things to do. So being as a mother, that's the hardest place. And for you, there'll be a place in your life where you find it hard to show up. It might be at work, but often work's one of the places we usually have mastered if we're doing something that we're good at, yeah? Often it's in relationships, like actually showing up and being there with that person that you're in an intimate relationship with. That can be the most confronting. And sometimes, like with me, it's as a mum. And so why does it even matter? And why is authenticity the buzzword of business? And why do relationships work better with vulnerability? Because I believe that when you bring out your magic or your genius or your message, it's actually for some people. You've got to show up in the world as you, because some people are waiting to hear the message from you. No pressure. Because it's not from me, and it's not from Sunil, it's not from anyone else. They're actually waiting to hear it from you, or see it from you, or feel it from you. It doesn't matter. It depends how you're doing it. And those people might be your family. Those people might be your clients, or those people might be Australia, or those people might be the world. But everybody has someone that they're waiting on to deliver a message. And if you're not out there, if you're not finding a way to deliver what you're great at and helping those people get what they need, then they're still going to be lost. And I reckon so will you. And that's why rising is so important. And I think, you know, one of the probably third and most important things though is, and it's quite wound up with the other two, is that you have to find your people. And you know, when you've got purpose and you're connected to others, then life becomes real. And so what I was talking about, you know, when you don't have purpose and connection, you sort of allow other stuff to get into the way. And I believe anxiety is actually your calling. So it's kind of like vibration. It's not a very comfortable one, and I do anxiety really well. So when I get too busy and too much stuff on and I forget to do the stuff that I'm supposed to do, then I'm anxious, right? And it's a vibration, but what it really is my calling. Part of the way I do my purpose is with writing. If I'm not writing enough, I get anxious. I believe depression is actually the result of trying to settle or make yourself fit in a situation that you're not entirely comfortable with, or you're trying to make okay. As an example, I recently moved house and I moved in with my guy and his 2 children, and it's a beautiful home. He's a beautiful guy. They're all 6 of them. They're such beautiful, healthy kids, and I was trying to be grateful every day for that. But the problem with all of it and everything that was going on is I have this thing that happens inside me when I get into a relationship, particularly when I move in. It's called suburban housewife. And, I didn't really notice that it was happening to me, but there wasn't time. I was trying to be so appreciative of the home and everything that I had, and I couldn't make time for writing and my beautiful and amazing and important work. Started hanging out a lot of washing and controlling the crap out of a lot of kids. And my friends, luckily, the people, when you find the right people, eventually, not too long into it, they're like, Fleur, we miss you. And I was like, oh, because I thought I was here all along. But my guy's kind of looking at me a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, and the kids don't really look at me at all. And I think they're all wondering where I've gone. And so, you know what, in the context of that, I have to rise again. I have to get myself centered back in my purpose, and I have to find the support people to bring around me to keep the foundations in place so that we can all get on with and do what we're meant to be doing. So your support system is really made up of all the people who love you and your children and whatever funny combination of family you have, and potentially your clients and all the people that you work with, because not only are those people your potentially your students or your clients, they can also be your biggest teachers. And when you have those people in your life, you've actually got choice about what it is that you're going to do. You've got choice about how you're going to spend your time. You've got choice about making your time the most precious resource that you have, and not making it about money or about the cost of something, but choosing to invest in the people that can help you, either with cleaning or with cooking or with activities, with time to allow you to spend time with your partner, or mentors or coaches or people who will help you keep on track and get where you need to go. So you really need to ask yourself consistently, how can I do this and who can help me? And here's what happens. When those three things come together, there's space, and in space, magic grows, or genius, or your message, whatever you feel comfortable calling it. Ideas, innovation, hope, creativity. And it's the most valuable stuff that you've got to offer, and I promise you it's already inside you. It's just a matter of getting it out. It's not something new. And when you rise and you're showing up to people, like your people, who believe what you believe, they'll see you and hear you, and they'll want to either invest in you or support you or work with you. And not only will you be doing your favourite work all day, every day, you'll be doing it with your favourite people. And a life like that feels amazing and incredible. And that is the power of purpose.
Thank you so much, Fleur, for sharing that with us. I'll just get you to stay there if you don't mind. So I'd like to open it up for some questions to Fleur. I'm going to hold and start if you don't mind. I just have a couple of questions I'm going to ask of all of inspired live storytellers. So first of all, if you had to take all of that advice, which is a lot, pick one piece that you would say to someone as the key to living an inspired life. What would you say to them?
It's definitely the rising part of it. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable in yourself. So whatever that is for you, kind of leaning into that. I work with someone, and she's a really amazing, she's quite a genius, and one of her things she'll do when she's she'll go researching. Yeah, and researching is a great thing. She's researching amazing stuff, but it's the safest thing she can do. Yeah, she's got to get more uncomfortable with the communicating that, all the stuff that she's learning and connecting with people and being open to people, because that's actually what she really wants. Does that make sense? So it's the rising, it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, whatever that is for you.
It kind of leads me to my next question. So if you think you're on this journey towards finding your purpose, you're obviously going to run into troubles along the way. Well, I imagine that you do.
Yep. Do
you have any tips or tools or techniques or things that you do when you're either having self-doubt or something gets in the way, or how do you deal with those challenges and keep going?
Don't try and sort it out yourself. Don't try and sort it out yourself. I think sometimes we're so worried that, if we actually admit that we're not coping with something, or that something's not working, or that something's challenging us, that people might judge us on that, when that's really our own self-judgment. I've found the more vulnerable I've become and the more I've opened up to people about the reality of my life. To be a good life coach, you don't have to have a perfect life. In fact, the more challenges you've had in your life, that sometimes makes you better. And regardless of what it is that you're doing, it doesn't mean you have to have that part of yourself or your life perfect. You just have to actually be real with people and be totally focused on them, I guess. But don't try and sort it out yourself. There are so many people and so many resources out there that can help you with that. And I think, so often we contract when we feel challenged by those things in life and just be like, I'll just sort this out here, and then when I've got it good, I'll come back out there. Instead of going, okay, this is going on with me, can someone help with this? And then you'll find those people are there.
Who else has some questions for Fleur?
Yes.
Yeah, Fleur, you talked about the rising part about expecting more of other people. What did you mean by
Expect more?
Yeah.
I've got a Danielle Laporte thing on my phone. And it's like her truth bombs, and it says raise your standards and the universe will meet you there. That's what I mean by that. Expect more. Like, that's a boundaries thing, but also, just in terms of my own experiences, like what I was prepared to accept from others meant that I got to live with quite a lot of crap. Yeah. When you raise your standards and you expect more, then the universe or whatever it is, people meet you there. They honour your time, they'll pay your bills, they will do those things because that expectation, that's kind of like a boundaries thing, but it also is a self-value thing, I think, self-value and self-belief. Does that make sense?
That's so funny. I've got a thing, a reminder on my phone at the moment saying let go of expectations. I was like, oh God. Oh, no,
yeah, so it's kind of a different thing. I think, the expectations are, in that context, the expectations are how you hope something's going to be. Yeah. Whereas this is expecting more, having an expectation of goodness or an expectation of, people honouring you. And all of it obviously starts with yourself and being able to value yourself and honour yourself and let go of the expectation of yourself.
Who else has questions? I'll keep hogging the floor then. One that always comes up for me when you talk about asking people for help is, I straight away think, it's selfish. I should do it myself. What do you say to that?
I think one of the best ways that the ego works, like that part of ourselves that kind of holds us up, is to use guilt. And selfishness is like a guilt thing. Mother guilt, work guilt, I should be able to do this myself, guilt, whatever it is, like feeling guilty or feeling like you're being selfish. I think you have to get your intention right. Yeah, so because sometimes we can, I am an incredibly selfish person. It's very easy for me to make it all about me. So, I've got to constantly check in with my intention, like, why am I asking for this? And I've got to get clear on what I need. So one, you have to know what you need. I think a lot of us, I know as women, and I don't know if it's the same for guys, aren't necessarily clear what it is that we need.
So taking the space?
Yes. Helps you work out
Will help you work out
what you need, yeah. And so once you're clear on what you need, you can make the difference that you want to make, or you can ask for that. And it doesn't feel selfish because your intent is good, like it's centered in your purpose. It's like, okay, well, like I had to sit down. My oldest daughter is actually currently my au pair, and she is really similar to me, which is that she doesn't actually really like doing any of that stuff. And she's doing her amazing own business at the moment, but I've employed her to be my au pair, so I have to sit down with her and have that conversation where I honour her for what she's doing, but say, I need you to do this. I need you to do this for 6 more weeks because I have all these things that I'm doing and I'm asking this of you. Can you do that or not? And if you can't, that's okay, but I need to find someone else to help me, and I'm very clear that I need this. It's very easy for me to go, oh, seriously, Fleur, as if you can't manage this, hang out some washing. Yeah, I do sometimes hang out washing. But the truth of it is I don't, it's not the best of me. And really my aim is to bring the best of me as most of the time. So if I am going to hang out washing, I'm going to hang it out like in my best.
When you talk about expectations,
Yeah.
you've got your expectations and I've got expectations. I've got some probably reasonably high expectations.
Of yourself or others?
Relationships
Yep.
wise. And how do you, it's not my kids, they're a bit crazy. But when you talk about washing and all that, I I'm extremely resentful, like the washing and cleaning, it's the same thing every day. And I do the same thing every day. So how do you get your expectations? How did you get your expectations met? Like, how do you get there? Like, you know what you want, but you've got to go.
Yeah, I had to make a choice. How can I do this? And I had to get a support system. And as an example, way back then, I had to get an au pair, so I had to get a live-in nanny to help me with the children, to give me the time to work on my business. That cost $200 a week, which is actually not a lot of money, right? But that I didn't have that $200 a week. But I had to make it happen, find the $200 every week to give me up to 30 hours of time to make at least $200 a week so that I could pay her for that time. So you have to make choices, but it was more important to me to do my work and to find a way to get my business to work and my purpose work to work than to go, I can't do this, I can't afford that, how will I have time for my kids, I need to be the one doing all of that. So you have to start to get clear on what it is that you want to, I guess, do with that time. Because if you're doing it resentfully, then you might not really be doing it at all, because your kids are like, whoa, there's that crazy, super crazy angry lady hanging out the washing again. And you know, that's not the point, that was never the point, you know, and the way that I want to inspire my kids is to show them. I need to keep showing up, that's all. I'm not trying to tell them how to live their life, I'm just like, you've got to kind of just keep showing up, guys, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about the lumps in your socks. We're going to just keep going, we're going to keep showing up.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point about inspiring kids that way. You know, they're not going to be that inspired by the super angry lady hanging out the washing, even though you're hanging out the washing. They're much more inspired by a mum who's happy and doing what she loves.
Yeah, and that's the bit about it that I had, you know, that's also the bit about guilt as well, actually. That I know that when I'm showing up, when I'm doing my work, the way I show up to my kids is different, and I would rather be her with them some of the time than the super angry crazy lady with them all the time. So, yes?
Another question. In creating space and choosing to be, I guess, selfish and taking care of yourself and what you need so you can be your best self, how have you dealt with that triggering other people in, what's your experience been with other people being judgmental of that, or telling you that you're selfish and you should be doing something else and because they're not doing that for themselves?
I just love them, and I just look at them and I just think, obviously you need some space. Maybe you should be being a little bit more selfish, and thank you for your input, but you know, that's not about me. And I suppose judgment is a really tricky one. I don't have it, I don't worry about it anymore, so I don't worry about what other people think of me, because it's too important what I've got to say and the message that I've got to get out there. So if I was worrying about all that stuff, I couldn't get it done. So, but if you feel that, yes, you just sometimes got to explore that with a bit of curiosity as well, either for them or for yourself, thinking, okay, why is this pissing me off so much? Because one, maybe you are being selfish. So maybe there's some truth in it, and that's the bit. Because when I, you know, yeah, and then if you can get your intent right in that and it's not that, then it can be like, okay, that's about them. And I'm just going to love them anyway, and, you know, say to them, hey, you want to come out for some coffee time? We're just going to lie on the grass and do nothing for 2 hours. And, oh, no, that's what you do. And you're like, okay, no worries. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I would say. Explore that. But also, if you get triggered by someone's response to you, you do need to look at that from curiosity about yourself as well. Oh, okay, this is interesting. That really pissed me off. Yeah.
Any questions?
I was curious about how long have you just how long have you been doing this work?
So I was already training like when I got pregnant, but I started my business when she was like properly, when she was just, so maybe 5.5 years or something, like she was about, yeah.
And I'm curious as to if and how you've seen your purpose and its expression evolve, and in your work with other people, if you're seeing as sort of trends or trajectories? Like, I guess I'm curious about all of us learning and in anticipation. So you've learned a lot the last 5 years, but what's the next 5 or 10 years look like based on past trajectory?
Okay. I think, so I don't think your purpose necessarily changes. I think that whatever that is, and usually, so when I do purpose work with people and why stuff with people, often that's connected to a longing. So this is really getting into emotional stuff, but a longing, like a feeling of something that you didn't experience or you wish to experience more of when you were younger becomes kind of a longing for something, and then that's wound in through all the experiences that you have later. That's just my sense of it from all the people that I've worked with in terms of purpose. So my purpose hasn't necessarily changed, but what people do or how they do that can change. And so I think in the context of like what I'm doing in my business, it's probably been more about the delivery of that has changed rather than what that's about. So I created an online program and I do that, so when I started coaching it was primarily one-on-one, face-to-face. Then I went into group coaching online stuff, and I do a lot of virtual Q&As and stuff like that. And it's amazing, it still gets the kind of same results for people, it's just in a different context. So I suppose the model of business has changed over that time. I think it's just really interesting. My dad's going through a phase at the moment, and he's feeling a bit lost and depressed, and he's 75, but given his family history, he'll probably live to 90. So there's 15 years to go, and I've been talking to my sisters about it. My older sister said to me, "You're going to crack up at this." I've been talking to someone at work. She said probably what's going on with him, it's a life phase, and it's lack of purpose. Right? So, in whatever's happened in him through all of his life, that he's done a lot of things, have been an amazing and passionate man, but he hasn't ever really gotten clear on what that purpose is. And now that purpose still exists in him. He might never have articulated it, but now he doesn't have anything to do. So hasn't got a what or a how. So I think it's the same for all of us, that you get to a certain point, and it's not necessarily, yes, you get to a certain point, I think, and you want to do something with that. I found that for a lot of women, that tends to be mid-30s and above. But it does vary, and I have worked with younger people as well, so, where they're really, really clear on purpose. So I don't know if one of the trends will be that people will want to discover it younger. Then, I'm sort of working with the primary target of women that I work with are women in their, mid-30s to mid-50s who have children and are married and kind of come out the other side of survival mode with kids and want more. But, I see, even in my daughter, that desire in younger people to find that sooner and start doing that stuff. It's a very different work model and education model. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Fleur. I really
No.
appreciate you being here today. Yeah, that's